Izumi was a cheerful and energetic high school student, but he seemed to have the worst luck imaginable. On his first day of school, as he left home, his parents, Makoto and Ada, were full of worry. Makoto warned him to watch out for rocks, cars, crows, and shingles. Almost immediately after stepping outside, Yu tripped over a rock, realizing that his day was off to a rough start. Despite narrowly avoiding various mishaps and helping an elderly lady along the way, Yu managed to meet his girlfriend, Miyako Shikimori. As they walked to school together, Shikimori noticed Yu's disheveled state and asked if he had a tough morning. Yu shrugged it off, saying he was used to it. Just then, Shikimori quickly pulled him away from the road when a truck approached, telling him not to worry her so much. At school, Yu fervently hoped he and Shikimori would be in the same class. Shikimori reassured him that, even if they weren't, she'd visit him often. To his delight, they were in the same class, joined by their friends Keiu, Masaki, Shumen, Yuzuka, and Yui Hachimitsu. During break, when Shikimori briefly stepped away, other boys surrounded Yu, envying him for having such a cute girlfriend. They warned him to be careful, given his bad luck. Shikimori returned, noticed the boys' glares, and pulled Yu aside. She told him not to worry about her, though Yu was puzzled by her concern. Since Inuzuka wasn't working that day, Yu decided to celebrate the new school year with him and invited Shikimori, Miki, and Hachimitsu to join. At the bowling alley, Yuzuka and Misaki became fiercely competitive, while Yu struggled to hit more than a single pin. Shikimori was pulled aside by Nozaki and Hachimitsu, who teased her about letting Yu lose to make him think she's cute, but seeing Yu cheer her on, Shikimori got motivated and ended up scoring perfect strikes. On the way home, Yu apologized to Shikimori, feeling bad for always relying on her due to his bad luck. Shikimori told him there was no need to apologize, and that she wanted to be by his side, no matter what others said. As they talked, a sign suddenly began to fall toward Yu. Shikimori quickly kicked it away and grabbed his hand, insisting that she didn't care about what others thought and only wanted to protect him. During school, Shikimori dashed over to Yu, asking him when the boys' football match was since her volleyball game started at 11:35, and she wanted to cheer him on. Checking the schedule, they realized their games were at the same time. Yu told her not to worry, assuring her he'd be cheering for her too. As the football match began, Yu's notorious bad luck kicked in. From a distance, Shikimori watched in horror as the ball flew straight at Yu. She shouted at him to watch out, but as Yu tried to understand her warning, the ball hit him right in the face. Panicked that he might be seriously injured, Shikimori rushed to his side, telling Miki she'd make it to the match in time. Taking Yu to the infirmary, she checked on him and brushed his hair, discovering a large scar on his temple. Yu explained that he'd had many accidents over the years, each leaving its own scar. Back at the gym, Shikimori noticed a girl with blue hair, surrounded by her classmates. Masaki told her that this girl, named Kema, was the ace of the volleyball club, and they'd be competing against her. As the match began, Kema's team quickly started scoring points. Meanwhile, Yu and Inuzuka, who had lost their match, came to watch the volleyball game. Seeing Shikimori's team struggle, Yu cheered loudly for her, encouraging her to do her best. Inspired by his support, Shikimori took a deep breath and jumped back into the game. Her team slowly started to make a comeback, and after a fierce battle, they won. After the match, the class celebrated, but Shikimori was soon swarmed by a crowd of new fans. The next day at school, Yu noticed Shikimori was still surrounded by girls, making it hard for him to approach her. Yuzuka mentioned that both Shikimori and Nozaki had become quite popular after the match. Just then, a ball flew through the window and hit Yu in the face. As Yu rushed over to check on him, Yuzuka winced, noting the dagger-like stare Shikimori gave him. Yuzuka then told Yu that he was on his own. On the way home, just as Yu was about to go down the stairs, he slipped. But Shikimori quickly caught him. She asked if he was heading home with Inuzuka. and Yu said he planned to wait for her at the gate. In class, Inuzuka handed Yu 2 movie tickets, saying he could have them since he had a part-time job. Shikimori, who had overheard, eagerly agreed to go with Yu when he invited her. As the date approached, Yu was determined to prevent any bad luck from ruining it. He packed several towels and umbrellas, and even tied his wallet to himself to avoid losing it. Meanwhile, Shikimori flipped through fashion magazines, trying on different outfits to look her best. When the day arrived, Yu was stunned by how beautiful she looked. As they headed to the cinema, Yu realized this was their first movie date. When choosing a film, Yu wondered what genre Shikimori liked. She asked him to pick, but he encouraged her to choose, wanting to learn more about her. Expecting she might prefer romance, Yu was surprised when she pointed to a horror movie and asked if he could handle it. Determined to show his courage, Yu agreed, though he found himself scared and noticed Shikimori quietly laughing as she held his hand. After the movie, they decided to grab a bite. Yu, who had tied his wallet to himself, realized he'd lost it again. As they searched for it, they bumped into Makoto and Akasada, who invited Shikimori to dinner at their home. After a lovely meal, while Yu was asleep, Shikimori helped Makoto with the dishes. Makoto thanked Shikimori for always looking after Yu and asked her not to give up on him, saying that despite his bad luck, Yu was still a good kid. Shikimori reassured Makoto not to worry, saying she'd always be there for Yu and never saw his bad luck as a misfortune. Makoto wished she could be with someone like Shikimori instead. As Yu walked Shikimori home, she asked what movies he liked and promised that next time they'd watch something he enjoyed. On a hot summer day, Yu sought shade while making plans for the summer vacation with his friends. Just as he stepped out of the shade, a cicada flew into his head. Meanwhile, Yuzuka, Nozaki, and Shikimori discussed their plans. Yu and Hachimitsu stayed under an umbrella, not fond of the outdoors. When Nozaki and Shikimori suggested going to the beach, Yu felt down, knowing he always got sunburned and spent most of the day under the umbrella. Yusuke suggested the river instead, which Yu thought would be better for him. Everyone agreed, and Inuzuka said it would be more fun if everyone enjoyed the location. A week before final exams, with all club activities cancelled, Nozaki insisted they go shopping for swimsuits. Even though Yu and the others said they had everything they needed, Nozaki insisted they buy new swimsuits and drove Hachimitsu away. Yu was caught staring at a swimsuit advertisement, prompting Shikimori to rush over. Nervous, Shikimori looked at adult swimsuits and was soon caught by Nozaki and Hachimitsu. She quickly explained that she was just looking because Yu had been looking at a swimsuit poster. Nozaki reminisced about how she and Shikimori became friends after a fierce basketball match and mentioned Shikimori's competitive nature during exams. As they headed home, Yu told Shikimori about his exam misfortunes. Every pen he used broke during the test. Seeing Yu downcast, Shikimori wished him good luck for the next day. That night, Shikimori called Yu to check if he was feeling better. Yu said he felt much better and invited her to stargaze with him, sharing that whenever he watched the stars, it always rained. Realizing he was still a bit sad, Shikimori promised to take him stargazing next time. Yu, however, mentioned that he'd like to go somewhere Shikimori would enjoy, since she was already going to the river for him. With the exams finally over and summer vacation here, they finally had the chance to visit the river. Upon arrival, Yuzuka was surprised at how pleasant the weather was, and they all set up for a barbecue, looking forward to a fun day. Everyone watched in shock as Yu picked up a knife to prepare the vegetables, expecting disaster. But to their surprise, he sliced them with the skill of a professional. When asked how he learned to cook, Yu explained that he often helps his mother in the kitchen. Inuzuka commented that he should be popular for his cooking skills, and Shikimori teasingly asked if Yu was trying to impress her, wondering if he saw her as a rival. As they cooked, Yu noticed Shikimori preparing something as well. When the food was ready, she served Yu a portion, But he took one bite and immediately spat it out. Collapsing to his knees in distress, it tasted terrible. Shikimori tasted it herself and realized her mistake. But Yu encouraged her to continue, saying he appreciated her effort, and that's what mattered to him. After eating, everyone went to the river to have fun. But Shikimori stayed behind with Yu to keep him company. When she left to join the others, Yu spotted a little girl drifting toward the river. Fearing for her safety, he dove in and pushed her to the shore. As he was about to climb out, Yu got a cramp in his leg and fell back into the water. The girl, seeing him struggle, called for help. Without hesitation, Shikimori jumped in, rescued both of them, and pulled them to safety. Once on shore, she flicked Yu's head and scolded him for not calling her for help earlier. The grateful little girl thanked Yu with a kiss on the cheek, making Shikimori feel a twinge of jealousy. After spending the day at the river, the group went into town for souvenirs and ice cream. Shikimori offered Yu a taste of her ice cream, then asked if she could try his. Just as Yu held it out, Yuzuka snatched it and ate it in one bite. Shikimori quickly grabbed a spoonful of Yu's ice cream and ended up giving herself a brain freeze. On their way home, Shikimori noticed Yu asleep on her shoulder and gently adjusted his head to rest on her shoulder instead. Later, she checked in on him, concerned about the sunburns he got from their river trip. As they watched TV, Yu spotted an upcoming festival and asked Shikimori if she wanted to see the fireworks with him. His father had told him about a secret spot for a peaceful view of the fireworks. When Yu met up with Shikimori for the festival, he was amazed at how cute she looked in a yukata. They visited various attractions, and Yu took her to a shooting game, offering to win her a cute doll. Yu struggled and failed, but Shikimori effortlessly knocked down all the targets, winning the prize. She handed the doll to Yu, telling him to keep it since she wanted for him. As night fell, Yu and Shikimori ran into Inuzuka, Nozaki, and Hachimitsu. Seeing the girls were busy, Inuzuka suggested a goldfish catching contest. Yu, struggling with the paper net, handed it over to Shikimori, who took over and started competing. Just as the fireworks were about to begin, Nozaki pushed Shikimori aside to take over the competition, and they headed toward the secret viewing spot. Shikimori's shoe snapped, and as she sat on a bench to check her feet, Yu noticed she had blisters all over. Determined not to miss the fireworks, Yu offered to carry her on his back. As they made their way up a long set of stairs, Shikimori asked why he was going through so much trouble. Yu replied that he just wanted to see her smile sincerely. When they reached the top, they arrived at a quiet shrine with a perfect view of the fireworks. As they sat down to enjoy the display, Yu revealed he had wanted to see the fireworks with her last year, but lacked the confidence to ask her out, so he had watched from home. Shikimori, touched, admitted she had been waiting for him to call her. On their way back, Yu, still carrying Shikimori, slipped again, and Akasada caught them both. Makoto was also there and asked how long they had been at the shrine. They shared that they had been there from the start. With the cultural festival approaching, Yu was busy preparing his costume, while Shikimori joined the decoration team. Watching her from a distance, Yu felt a pang of loneliness as she seemed to be having so much fun. On the festival day, Yu was assigned to a little love event booth at school, where he ended up serving customers at an animal cafe. Feeling the pressure, he slipped, and Shikimori quickly came to his aid, saving the ice cream. She reminded him that he should rely on others too. As they walked home, Yu mentioned he had to be in the library and apologized for not helping with the cafe. Shikimori reassured him, and they both agreed to work as hard as possible. The next day, Yu felt relieved when he found out his library duty partner was Kamo, someone he had worked with before. As they restocked the books and chatted about their classes, Kamo reminisced about when Yu first came to the library as a librarian volunteer. She admitted that she had started to fall for him, but knew he had a girlfriend. Yu agreed to share how he met Shikimori when Kamo persistently asked. He told her about their adventure at the cultural festival last year, when they both ended up with the same number for the school's love game. After losing his number, they searched the school to find it, and eventually had their picture taken to complete the challenge. When they couldn't find it, the event chairman made an exception for them. That same day, Yu finally mustered the courage to ask Shikimori out, and she agreed. Kama later shared a story about a movie she saw where a girl never confessed her love because the boy she liked was already happy with someone else. Just then, Nozaki walked into the library and asked Kama to speak with her privately outside. Kama noticed Shikimori waiting nearby and, feeling nervous, asked if Shikimori would trade the couple's game number with her since she had the same one as Yu. Not wanting to be a hindrance, Kama quickly handed it over. As Yu walked into the hallway and saw what was happening, Shikimori quickly hid her number. Kama told Yu he could leave and that she'd handle the last 20 minutes. But Yu insisted on staying because he noticed her distress. Realizing Kama had feelings for Yu, Shikimori decided to talk to her. After library duty, Shikimori tried to return the number to Kama, saying it wasn't fair for her to keep it. Kama, surprised, admitted that she had feelings for Yu, but would not tell him. She cried as she apologized for not giving up her feelings sooner. Shikimori hugged her, reassuring her that she didn't mean to hurt her, and that anyone who loved Yu couldn't be a bad person. After a while, Kama thanked Shikimori and promised to stay away from Yu. And Shikimori sent her on her way to find him before anything bad happened. As Kama left, she felt a little relieved that Yu was Shikimori's boyfriend. With Shikimori's birthday and their 1-year anniversary coming up during the festival, Yu bought her a gift. Despite losing the fundraising contest with his class, he took Shikimori to a park and nervously gave her the present. Shikimori, who had been acting a bit off lately, was delighted when she opened it to find a beautiful heart-shaped necklace. Yu told her that, no matter what, he would always be by her side. Shikimori, touched, said he hadn't changed, but Yu replied that he had changed a lot over the past year. He admitted he wasn't as cool as her yet, but he planned to become stronger to reassure her, just as he trusted her. Shikimori, suddenly emotional, held his face and promised that no matter who else might come into her life, she would never let him go. When Inuzuka walked into the classroom, Nozaki told him that Yu was sick. Inuzuka said he knew, and added that he had asked Nozaki to take notes for Yu. Shikimori, feeling a bit jealous, wished Inuzuka had asked her instead. Yu, feeling curious, asked Nozaki and Hachimitsu if Shikimori saw everyone around her as a rival. Hachimitsu said Shikimori never glared at them, even though she spent time with Yu, which puzzled Yuzuka and made him wonder if Shikimori disliked him. After school, Shikimori asked Yuzuka if she could go to Yu's house with him. Nozaki, who had club activities, told Hachimitsu to follow them and see what happened. At the convenience store, Shikimori searched for remedies and accidentally called Yuzuka Big Brother. Embarrassed, she quickly paid at the counter. She then gave Yuzuka a snack, making him worry she might have a hidden agenda. As they left the store, they bumped into Hachimitsu, who had been secretly observing them. Hachimitsu, dressed in a detective outfit, revealed that Shikimori had an older brother and struggled to be open with him, which made her seem cold. She also mentioned that Shikimori might unconsciously project those feelings onto Yuzuka. Realizing Shikimori didn't actually hate him made Yuzuka feel better. Hachimitsu then asked Yuzuka to hand over his snack, but Yuzuka refused, saying his little sister had bought it for him. He quickly apologized when Hachimitsu gave him a stern look. The next day, with Yu still sick, Nozaki took Shikimori to the mall, where they ran into Kema. Nozaki invited Kama to hang out, and she agreed, which surprised Nozaki. While Nozaki went to the restroom, Shikimori and Kama played at the arcade, winning several prizes. From a distance, Nozaki noticed that Kama seemed genuinely happy, as she had previously turned down Nozaki's invitations. At the mall's public park, two girls challenged them to a basketball game. Initially hesitant, Kama and Shikimori teamed up. With Nozaki as the referee, they easily defeated the girls. Afterward, Kama told Shikimori she wanted to be friends. Nozaki was pleased that Kama had agreed to hang out, and felt she had learned a lot about her new friend. However, when Nozaki started talking about Yu and Shikimori, Kama's reaction made Nozaki realize she had said too much. Nozaki asked Kama about the change in her attitude, but Kama refused to answer, saying she hoped one day she could share more with Nozaki. Nozaki, happy to be considered a friend, told Kama she would be waiting for that day. With the cultural festival over, the athletic festival began. Yu and Hachimitsu were in the relay race, with Nozaki, Shikimori, and Inuzuka also volunteering. They gathered to discuss their strategy, but Hachimitsu doubted her ability, saying she might hold them back. Nozaki reassured her that, with all 5 of them, they could succeed. Despite practicing, they struggled with Hachimitsu's slow pace and Yu's tripping over a rock. Realizing their weaknesses, Yu and Hachimitsu stayed back to practice more, determined not to let their team down. Exhausted by nightfall, Yu asked Hachimitsu if she was okay. She told him not to worry, as her only concern was making everyone happy. The next day, during their individual events, Hachimitsu secured second place in the ball toss, while Yu and Inuzuka sadly lost their mock cavalry battle. As the relay race approached, Hachimitsu felt a lot of pressure. Shikimori, feeling nervous herself, reassured Hachimitsu that it was okay to be scared. When the race began, Nozaki took an early lead and handed the baton to Hachimitsu. Despite nearly melting from the heat, Hachimitsu pushed through. She stumbled but got back up, passing the baton to Yu. As Yu ran, his bad luck struck again. His shoes started coming off. He kicked them off while running and handed the baton to Shikimori. Shikimori shot out with remarkable speed, closing the gap. Yuzuka, seeing Shikimori approaching and realizing the urgency, wondered if he could outrun her. Determined not to let his friend's efforts go to waste, Yuzuka grabbed the baton and surged ahead, ultimately winning the race. Hachimitsu was overjoyed, unable to believe they had won. She thanked everyone and said it was fun. Later, Hachimitsu was annoyed that she had to go to the mall with her brother Fuji. Fuji told Shikimori to at least be thankful since he was driving her, and asked her to text him when she was done. At the mall, Shikimori struggled to decide on clothes, wanting the date with Yu to be perfect. Remembering an ad for an amusement park where couples end up kissing, she felt pressured not to mess this up. When Shikimori returned to Fuji, she saw him surrounded by 2 girls who were making him panic. Jumping to his rescue, she pulled him away as he sobbed in humiliation. Shikimori told him that he had always been the one needing her help since she was little. She had always followed everything Fuji did, even taking up karate because of him. Her mother, Miyabai, had told her to make her own choices and stick to them. After Fuji quit karate, a classmate introduced her to manga, and she started dreaming of falling in love. After a complete makeover, Shikimori turned into a cute girl. During high school entrance exams, she saw Yu struggling to retrieve his exam ticket from a tree. Without hesitation, she climbed the tree and got it for him. As she left, she wondered if Yu thought she was unladylike. To her surprise, she ended up at the same school as Yu. Feeling panicked that her perfect high school debut was ruined, she told Yu she was happy he got in and started to walk away. Yu stopped her, thanked her for saving him, and said he was glad to see her again despite his bad luck. This made Shikimori fall for him instantly. As Yu tried to run away, Shikimori grabbed his arm, asked for his name, and scared him so much that he began to mumble. As Shikimori heads home with her brother, she stops to admire a pricey lipstick, but leaves it behind. That night, while preparing for her date with Izumi, she uses the lipstick and finds a note from her brother wishing her good luck. When Shikimori meets Izumi for their date, he's stunned by how cool she looks. At the amusement park, they start by buying souvenirs. They then head to their first ride, which has a 90-minute wait. Shikimori warns that the line can sometimes be up to 180 minutes long, but Izumi suggests they stick with it. As they chat while waiting, they lose track of time, and before they know it, they're boarding the ride. It tells the story of Beauty and the Beast, and as Izumi falls asleep by the end, Shikimori leans in to kiss him. She pulls back quickly as the ride ends abruptly. After spending the day at the park, Izumi takes Shikimori to a restaurant, but his bad luck strikes again, and their reservation is mixed up. The staff apologizes, quickly arranging a better table and offering them a full-course meal. During dinner, Izumi asks if she wants to do something else. Shikimori, recalling a commercial where couples kiss, says she wants to recreate that moment. Izumi takes her hand, thinking she just wants to hold it, and leads her to a boat ride. As they sit in the middle of the lake, he realizes what she meant. Izumi takes out his phone to capture the moment, but the power goes out. Panicking, he feels Shikimori's hand reassuringly. They talk by the light of their phones. Understanding that Shikimori is worried about him drifting away, Izumi kisses her on the cheek and tells her he's in love with her and will never leave her. Shikimori hugs him, and just then, the lights come back on. She asks him to stay like this a little longer, expressing that she's happier than she could ever be in a dream. The next day at school, Hachimitsu and Nozaki excitedly surround Shikimori, asking about her date. Hesitant at first, Shikimori reveals that after dinner, Izumi kissed her on the cheek. They misinterpret this as Izumi being hesitant and not fully committing. Shikimori responds that she will work on being as open-hearted as Izumi, making them worry that she sounds overly intense. Nozaki asks Hachimitsu for her thoughts, and Hachimitsu concludes that their relationship seems either like that of kindergartners or an elderly couple. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.